Chapter 9. Whispers of the Past. A pale dawn filtered through the workshop's boarded windows, revealing dust motes swirling in the half-light. Selene sat alone at a makeshift table, quietly turning the pages of her dream tome. Her eyes stung from lack of sleep, but every time she closed them, the memory of that black mist intruding on their shared dream flared behind her eyelids. Ava drifted by, setting down a chipped mug of tea near Selene's elbow. "Morning," she said softly. Her empathic energy radiated gentle concern. "Any luck figuring out what went wrong last night?" Selene shook her head. "All I know is we were making progress before they broke in, whoever they are." She paused, swallowing. "It's like the more we push the limits of the dream realm, the easier they find us." Ava's lips pressed into a worried line, but she said nothing, her gaze flicking toward Draven, who stood in the far corner of the workshop. He was scrutinizing a battered laptop with one of the watchers, tension carving lines on his face. The entire group moved about in hushed agitation, aware that each new day felt heavier with looming threats, raids by the organization, the possibility of a mole, and the risk that their dream forays might endanger them even more. At midday, Draven called a gathering. The watchers settled into a rough circle, perched on crates or leaning against the walls. Ethan stood beside Selene, radiating a supportive calm she drew strength from. Clearing his throat, Draven addressed them, voice echoing in the hollow space. "We're under pressure. We keep relocating, but eventually that will fail if someone in our midst leaks our positions." Eyes swept around the room, haunted and questioning. "We can't keep ignoring the possibility of betrayal." A short silence met him. Then one of the watchers, a woman named Mira, spoke up. "All we have is fear and suspicion. We can't tear ourselves apart without proof." Lyle's jaw tightened. He stood in the shadows, arms crossed. "So what's the plan? We wait until they corner us again?" Draven refused to look away from Lyle's glare. "No, we keep searching for answers. About this mole, about the organization's new dream tech, and about the broader threat they pose. We must also fortify our dream defenses." He set a weary hand on Selene's shoulder. "Oneiric Fusion may be the key to shielding us from further breaches." Selene felt a shiver run through her. She was no stranger to the idea that her powers might save them, but the weight of it pressed down harder every day. Ava stepped forward. "I have another suggestion, a lead, really." She hesitated, glancing at Selene. "Something about Selene's past." Selene's heart jolted. "My past?" Ava nodded. "I've been picking up flickers, emotional resonances, whenever you talk about your childhood or your family. They're unusually strong, as though your memories might be tied to the dream realm more deeply than you realize." Murmurs rippled through the group. Even Lyle's surly expression flickered with curiosity. Ethan shifted, concern evident in his eyes. "How do we explore that?" "Through dream recall," Ava replied. "A specialized session that peels back repressed or foggy memories. It's risky, though. If the organization's intelligence was involved in Selene's family history, well, we might dig up things we're not ready for." Selene stared at her hands. She'd lost her parents young. She remembered very little beyond scraps of warmth and whispered warnings. Could those fragments be more than fleeting illusions? Could her family once have fought the same battle she did now? "I'll do it," she said, voice steady despite the sudden thudding in her chest. "If there's any chance this could help us, help me. I want to try." They chose the small back room of the workshop, a cramped space that smelled of old metal shavings. The watchers kept guard outside while Ava, Draven, and Ethan prepared the dream recall. Selene lay on a makeshift cot, the dream stabilizer strapped to her forearm. Her breath fluttered nervously. Ava's voice was low and calm as she guided Selene into a trance. "Let your mind drift toward the earliest memories you can reach. Feelings, images. We'll be right here if anything goes wrong." Draven hovered close, one hand placed gently on Selene's shoulder. Ethan knelt at her side, offering a reassuring squeeze of her hand. Gradually, the workshop walls and stale air receded, and Selene felt herself sinking into the soft undercurrent of her subconscious. Warm lamplight flickered over a familiar shape, a worn wooden table surrounded by mismatched chairs. Selene sensed her younger self perched on one of them, legs swinging restlessly. A woman's laughter, gentle, lilting, echoed from another room. The sound made Selene's heart ache with a longing she hadn't felt in years. "Mother?" The word surfaced like a leaf floating on a dark pond. She glimpsed the woman's face, a faint outline of dark hair and kind eyes. A father's figure emerged too, but it was hazier, as though he'd always existed on the periphery. Somewhere, the memory twisted. A sudden hush fell over the scene, replaced by the hiss of static and a swirl of color. Selene watched as a door banged open and uniformed figures swarmed in, enforcers, or something like them. Her parents' voices rose in alarm. Shouts reverberated. Fear spiked in Selene's chest. A child's terror turned raw and visceral. She tried to steady herself, remembering Ava's instructions. Observe. Don't get lost in the memory. But the scene pulled her deeper, every detail painting itself across her senses. One of the intruders barked an order. Seize them. They're Dreamweavers. High-level threat. Selene's father moved to shield her mother, illusions of swirling mist and twisted shadows flickering around them like frantic attempts at defense. Selene's mother's eyes sought the child's, voice trembling. "Never let them find you." Then came a flash of white, a suffocating wave of dread, and the memory shattered. Selene jerked upright on the cot, gasping. Her heart hammered so painfully she feared it might burst. Ava was at her side, brow furrowed with concern. Ethan's grip tightened around her hand, knuckles white. "You saw something?" Draven asked, gaze serious. Selene rubbed tears from her cheeks, fighting the quiver in her throat. "My parents. They were Dreamweavers. The enforcers came for them. That's why I barely remember them." Silence followed, heavy with empathy and realization. She felt, more than saw, the watchers just beyond the doorway, straining to hear. Ava placed a comforting hand on Selene's arm, eyes filled with sympathy. Draven exhaled slowly. "Then your powers are in your bloodline. That explains a lot." Ethan's voice was barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry." Selene swallowed hard, chest tight. The memory revealed so little but told her everything. Her family had been part of this battle long before she ever wielded illusions. Now she inherited their gifts and their enemies. "How does this help us?" she asked, trying to steady the tremor in her voice. "Any records of Dreamweavers captured or vanished by the organization might mention your parents," Draven replied. "If we find details, we might uncover how they were subdued and how to defend against it." A flicker of something like hope stirred among her sorrow. The watchers, overhearing, exchanged glances. She wasn't the only one who'd lost people to the regime's dream manipulations. If her past offered any clue to halting the onslaught, it might be worth the pain of reliving it. That evening the watchers convened again in the workshop's main room. Selene relayed pieces of her recovered memory, and Draven laid out a plan. They would search for old city archives or restricted files, where the fates of captured Dreamweavers might be recorded. The risk was enormous. Government data centers bristled with security, but the potential reward was too great to ignore. "We'll move carefully," Draven said, arms crossed. "We can't storm any facility, but if there's a way in, a small infiltration, maybe we can glean just enough data to guide our next steps." A murmur of agreement rose, though anxiety thickened the air. No one liked the idea of sneaking into a lion's den. Lyle in particular rolled his eyes. "That's if we even get close to their archives without being shot or mind-wiped," he muttered. But he didn't protest further. After the meeting, Selene lingered by the workshop door, mind swirling with heartbreak and resolve. She stepped outside into the crisp night air. Stars flickered faintly behind the city's haze. She closed her eyes, letting memories float in her mind. Her parents' faces, one clear, one blurred, like half of a puzzle yet unsolved. Footsteps approached. It was Ethan, pausing a polite distance away. "You okay?" he asked gently. She exhaled, arms hugging herself. "I will be, just processing." He hesitated, then offered a faint wry smile. "Welcome to the Club of the Half-Broken. We all are in a way." She managed a small, grateful laugh despite the tears that threatened. "Thanks, Ethan." He nodded and stepped closer, voice dropping. "We'll get answers. About your parents. About this war we're in. No matter what it takes." Selene studied his determined gaze and felt a pang of gratitude. She nodded, tears brimming. Even in the gloom, she sensed the watchers moving inside, restless but unified around a new glimmer of purpose. The wind whispered across the rooftops, carrying the distant hum of an ever-present threat. "Whispers of the past," she murmured, echoing the haunting memory. If unearthing her family's fate could spark a way forward, she owed it to them and to everyone who'd lost their freedom to the regime, to chase every clue. With renewed resolve, she brushed away tears and turned back to the workshop's dim light. Tomorrow, they would plan the infiltration. Tomorrow she'd face her parents' shadows head-on, trusting that the memories wouldn't destroy her, but instead illuminate the path she was destined to walk.